Hi guys, my name is Val, and I am the founder of the European Aviation Wellbeing Committee, which is a non-profit organization. And you probably know a little bit about the committee at the moment, but I'm not here to talk about on behalf of the committee. I'm here to talk on behalf of my own personal experience and in relation to resilience. We're seeing so many things at the moment, currently on LinkedIn and social media and on the news about our current social climate. So I have my own opinion, which is personal, and I think it doesn't really matter what you think about the situation. It's about really the reality of the environment where we're living in and our consideration and our dreams and the way we see realistically the aviation industry going forward. So I'm asking you the question in relation to how are you actually coping at the moment? And it's the most kind of well-known question so far. Everybody's asking each other, how are you doing and how are you coping and what's going on? And so I just want to focus on resilience because it's the most popular word at the moment. So there is a lot of different way for people to engage, and I think I just want to know a little bit about you and about how you define resilience, because to me resilience as a well-being, it's just a word. It doesn't mean absolutely anything if there is no content of real life experience within it. So for me, briefly, very briefly, resilience is what my life represented so far and what I've achieved and how I achieved it and what does that means to me today. So everything is personal. You can't just be business minded. Yes, we have a certain level of um, business acumen that we need to use. Certainly, the aviation industry at the moment, it's all about how can we return to business. And I don't have all of those answers. Certainly, nobody has. People just assume things, and we all assume, no matter what role you have, whether you're in the government or whether you are in any high position in the organization, in the aviation industry or in the medical industry. Anywhere you look, everybody just assume we're just going to the wave of what's going on now into the reality. But mostly it's about how are we going at the moment to implement resilience, just to be as healthy as possible in this particular climate. So for me, it's there's two questions. So there's two type of probably people. So there's one that have been into those situations before in their life experience, and what it represents today, how is coming back that experience to help them today. And I think everything we lived in the past, even though we have to learn to live it in the past, it doesn't exist anymore because we are in the present. This is the most important time of our life. I think has a relevance to who we become and how can we use those moments when we need them, just when we need them. We don't have to be victim of our past, but we need to be able to use some element of it to help our current situation. So I been in a certain way, I don't really relate with everybody because I've been in a very different situation, but it could be actually as similar as many other people in the world. So I've grown up alone. I don't have a family. I never had a family behind me. So in that sense, the most relevant experience for me that is helping me today and that I can relate to, that in a certain way is helping me to navigate by comparison, is when I was living in the street. So I lived in the street for nearly 12 months when I was between the age of 17 and 18. And the circumstances behind that are, they're not really important. The important is that particular experience and how it has affected my life. But I also was able to help my life, like in my development. And I grew up pretty much alone, so I never had to care about my parents, but also nobody has to ever care about me. So I was a very, very wild kind of life circumstances, but I've always been able to remain in touch with myself and what I wanted to be. There's always been something in the street that I've learned that I carry with me today. Sometimes when I said to people today that I've been living in the street, And that means really in the street. People say, like, what do you mean in the street? Like, you couldn't possibly live in the street, Valentina. Like, so they don't actually believe that someone like me today, probably what I represent, or probably the way that I look so well, in the sense I'm healthy, um, they don't actually, they don't recognize that person in what I am today. But the street has gave me the sense of reality that I never leave behind me. So without reality, we lose everything. So I am very realistic person, and I'm very I have a great sense of awareness about what's going on at the moment within my life. And I think the focus it's on my life, and it's not because I don't care about people or because I don't want to help people. I think we all have a certain element that we can help someone nearby. We can't help the rest of the world because we don't really understand what's going on in the individual at individual level for each and every one of us. So how did the street help me? It helped me in the sense that I learned to be alone, and I have learned to rely on myself. So relying on myself in an extreme situation, which means I didn't have food, I didn't have money, I didn't have a place to sleep, and I didn't have anyone to call or to help and understand where I was and really kind of rescue me. So my brain functioned, and especially my traumatic brain. I always talk about trauma because I think we all at a certain level went through a level of trauma, and that has in a certain way change and shape our brain pathways at biochemical level and biochemistry level and physiological level. And a lot of people doesn't really know those things, or doesn't really are not informed enough about trauma. So it's a very interesting subject from neuroscience point of view. And I think those things stayed in there, the flight or fight response. So in a certain way, the fact I didn't have food and I didn't have a place to sleep, I slept rough. I slept under the tube, or in the park. I am coming from Rome, so Rome is a very big metropolitan city, and it's quite dangerous as well. But I have to be honest, I've always been really aware that I didn't want to end up in certain situation. And even though I was under the weather, in the sense raining, cold, heat, trying to find food, having few jobs here and there, lying about my situation, in the sense I didn't want to tell people I was working with that I actually didn't have any place to sleep. But ultimately, when I kind of look at that person that has been in the street, and I look at that with compassion, and I look at that like, a person from an outside perspective now at the moment, and said how lucky I am that I've been into that position to have experienced an extreme side of human condition, whereby now I can take that part and bring it into my today's life. And I've always been doing that. So from the younger that lived in the street because she was alone, abandoned by a family, and she no friends, she no support, social support or individual support, to slowly becoming the person that I am today, and also to become an aviation industry professional at different levels and with different skills and with different human skills, but also practical and technical skills. I think that made me overall just understand the holistic approach that we always talk about. When we talk about mind, body, and emotion, we talk about our lives, and how some experience in our life at certain level can help us really redefine our present. So don't be dominated by your past, and don't react, because reaction are coming from your past, but act and choose some part of that past that you can bring into your present for a few moments that can help you to just remind you where you were at, and how can you use that situation to help yourself today and build that resilience. And for me personally, that what resilience is remember, particularly where I'm coming from and where I am today. Thank you.